Hello everybody, welcome to another LEGO review based on the book series known as The Wheel of Time. I have done already at least 2 other videos based on these bookend displays that I've been building in this series of 14 books, and I'm about to show you books 5 and 6. But before I get into that, I do want to shout out to all of you who have supported the original LEGO Ideas project on LEGO Ideas. It has achieved 100 supporters and has become my first official LEGO Ideas project to achieve that stage. Really happy about that, and now I have a year to gain at least 1,000 supporters. My goal right now is 500, at least, and if I don't make it that far, as the Aes Sedai say, the wheel weaves as the wheel wills. If you've been following me on this series on YouTube, then you probably know what's in store. So let's go right into it. Here are books 5 and book 6 for Fires of Heaven and then the Lord of Chaos. So book 5 shows 3 characters on the front as 2 mysterious creatures hide in the shadows. And then book 6 shows 2 characters surrounded by a bunch of wreckage, like wagons and wood, and there's a mysterious bat creature in the background. Although it's interesting because considering what happened in that scene, there wasn't really a bat creature, so I kind of left it out on the build. But anyway, look, these are the books, and here are the builds. So altogether, 8 minifigures total. And if you've been following my Instagram account, I actually made some changes with some of the minifigures. So let's start off with the build that's based off of the Fires of Heaven. So obviously at first glance you can tell that the build is not limited to the usual size that I put in it, but I kind of like that idea because, like I've said before, it just kind of opens up the world, makes it like a window. And I think it looks pretty good. Honestly, this was one of the hardest ones to build because the concept, while it seems easy, is actually pretty complex. For instance, compared to the book, when you really look at the buildings in the background, you can see that there's some interesting things like with the angling of the buildings and then like some of the ruins and stuff. So technically, if you want this to be more accurate, you'd rotate that a bit more. I suppose you'd go there. But yeah, and I think it does a pretty good job. It catches the window pretty nicely. You have the little 3 archways, which kind of hover over a door. And honestly, I think it's one of my favorite builds. And alright, let's go into the minifigures. First guy up is one of my favorite characters, Matt Coffin, with his Ashandri, based on this character. He's got a black hat, dark green robes, and his Ashandri, which is like a old language for a sword spear, and some brown pants. And he was a pretty fun minifigure to come up with. And yes, while it's true his hat is not necessarily to scale, I could have used, say, black Johnny Thunder, black hat of Johnny Thunder. I decided to make it bigger because as the builds go on, I kind of want to reflect like him growing into it. So I gave him a bit of a bigger Barbossa hat, and the Ashandri is really long as well, compared to the Towers of Midnight minifigure. The head is Aladdin from the Disney minifigure series. The body is Mary from The Lord of the Rings. And then we have Legolas's legs from the Hobbit series. And the reason I chose it was mostly to get this idea of a bigger coat, even though like this coat kind of folds in. And it's a bit of an olive green, but I think it catches the look. And yeah, technically he could have a black scarf, but if I was to have my way, I'd probably give him either printing of this medallion or make the medallion like one of the necklace pieces, kind of like the, what's it called? Oh, the Olympic swimmer. It comes with a medal. Yeah, that would have been cool. Also, this dagger, instead of gold, it would have black, just to really complete the look of the Ashandri. Our next character is the main character, Rand al'Thor. He, if you want to get into spoiler territory, I'll just give you that warning now. But yes, all right, he is the Dragon Reborn, and that's why he kind of has like this really nice garb. I chose Elrond's torso and legs just to kind of reflect his character on this cover, and I think it is pretty accurate. Even like the boots are a bit brown in comparison. And then you have Luke Skywalker head, and then this hairpiece is not actually Lego. It's from a series of Brigham Young missionary figures that I acquired. And, you know, even though it's not accurate Lego, I think it really does catch the look of what that hair is supposed to be. Honestly, this is one of my favorite renditions of Rand. I loved the Fires of Heaven, but you already knew that, otherwise I wouldn't have built this. But yeah, he's the most simple of the figures as well. And he does come with a little accessory, the little green jade statue, which I was holding at the beginning of this video. And that's just to kind of represent an ancient artifact that basically can help him channel magic. Next up, we have Avienda, an Aiel woman who Rand falls in love with. But she is pretty simple figure as well. And, you know, as far as the face, I mainly chose that face because I just thought it kind of portrayed some of the fierceness in here. There, let's go. There we go. Yeah, I chose this hairpiece as well because originally it was Daphne Blake's from Scooby-Doo. Because it had a headband, I thought that portrayed her, and it was a bright orange, so it seemed to fit. But I chose this hairpiece because, as you can see, it kind of goes over the shoulder both ways, and I thought that kind of worked. And even though the head can't turn as much as that, you can't just simply angle it, even though when you actually put it on the set, you can't see. But I thought this was pretty accurate. This hairpiece comes from Lily Potter in the Harry Potter series. This head is Rey from Star Wars, Luke Skywalker from A New Hope, also Star Wars. And by the way, you use a lot, me personally, I use a lot of Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Harry Potter to make these minifigures. And some of Pirates of the Caribbean. But yeah, and then the dress is just a brick. So that's Avienda. Next up is this Trollic, one of the creatures of the Dark One. I gave him a long sword to more accurately fit what's seen in the picture, but even though it's more or less a dagger. But, you know, you work with what you can get. Also a pretty simple minifigure. He uses Shredder helmet, mostly to try to get some horns in there, kind of like what this helmet shows. It's an orc head to get the yellow eye that's slightly hiding underneath the mask. Because I guess like this one's supposed to be part wolf and part man. But then you have Lego Systems ninja samurai armor, and then the body, the torso, is from Dastan from Prince of Persia, and the legs are from a Cancha Club figure from Star Wars. Why are you not surprised? But that's Trollic 1. Trollic 2 is kind of hiding around the corner as he's all armored up, holding his sword ready to prepare an ambush. And this helmet, while it's not Lego either, it's made from Brick Warriors, and I mostly chose it for the horns. But, you know, if the Wheel of Time did become a Lego brand, Lego could do whatever they wanted, and so it's just a fun idea. And even though these are based on the books, I am hoping that with the TV show coming out soon, that we'll be able to get more of a glance at that. He uses the Ninjago armor for the shoulder plating, just to really give that same impression of what this shoulder has on it, the pauldron. Then you have some torso piece from Lego Castle series. The head is again an orc, and the pants, I believe, come from, I believe it was the Lego Minifigures Hun, along with some Wolverine claws. But, alright, that's for that figure. Now, this figure isn't really based off of anything in the books, per se. I just kind of wanted to have a bit of creativity, artistic fun with it. Yeah, he's got a Nazi back, but you're not supposed to be able to see it from the front. Because he's not, like, alive. He's supposed to represent a statue that has more or less light coming from on this side, on this direction, and then shadows fall in this direction. And so like his legs, you have like a waist of tan, leg of light tan, and then you have dark gray along with a dark gray sword. And this shield is actually one of these special minifigure grabber pieces. So, and this is Sensei Wu's hat from Lego Ninjago, just to kind of give that impression of a shield. And you know, shields can be different in different cultures, so who knows, maybe that's what this guy's shield looked like. But, yeah, he just goes on to the set directly as a statue. And then here we have on the back, like all the others, the number of the book as well as something depicting something from the series. In this case, it is a red stone doorway, which works as a sort of help to the heroes. Or it could be a danger. I guess it depends on your certain point of view. And then there's the little green engrail for Rand. So, kind of going back to this set, we can now see the statue placed in his proper spot. And really, on the book, it's more of like a dark gray stone. But like I said, I just kind of wanted to have some fun experimenting. You can kind of see it here behind these words. But the idea is whatever's gray is kind of in shadow, and then what's in light is tan. But of course, you might go, well, should that apply to the minifigures? And probably, but I'm not that artistic. I just kind of build how I want it to be. So if we're going to angle this right, let's get Rand. He's the first one. He's kind of walking, and it looks like his right leg is back, and his left leg is forward. And judging by the measurements of stud, I would say he's about a step back from the middle here. Okay. Let's move this over a bit more. There we go. So now we have that kind of for a comparison. Then we have Avienda, probably the most easy to set up because it's not like she can bend her arm like this character. So we can just find out how she lines up with these characters. She, I believe, would go about here. So that way you can still kind of see her before she vanishes as she continues walking behind the building. Then we have Matt. Matt, he is probably, like I said, the best character in the book. But it looks like he's kind of behind Rand. And you may notice that some of this blading is separated, the tan and dark gray. So it looks like Matt, his foot, is just kind of stepping on this part in the light. So I'd say roughly he goes about here. And, you know, you can angle the Ashandrai as high as it needs to go. Okay, so there's Rand and Matt. Okay, so then there comes the Trollics. Trollics are pretty simple as well. This one actually has like an extra plate, so then he can stand out a bit more when he extends his sword arm, like that's seen on the book cover. So you can just kind of crouch him down a bit forward, and then just angle this sword by pulling it out of his hand a bit so it's not completely at the bottom, but just close enough. So then you can do this, and yeah, I know what you're thinking. Okay, Rand should totally be able to see him. Yeah, he totally should, but according to the book cover, he really doesn't, so we'll go with that. And then we have this Trollic. Now, he's leaning against this post here, but the thing is, when you see this, you're just kind of like, okay, how is that going to really work? Because he's going to stand out as far as this guy. Because with these edgings, I try to avoid bleeding out too much, but in this case, I thought it was necessary. Well, in order to do the pillar, I had to get really creative. And the biggest thing is it's really just a simple obelisk that has an indent, that allows for an indent. And then you just get one of these side clips with a tile, stick it on, and open it. This allows for an opening for this Trollic, so then he can just kind of slide in there. And it gives the illusion that he's leaning completely against the wall. And speaking of illusions, as far as like a trick perspective, bigger building behind Rand, I think it's okay. I mean, it's not perfect. Ideally, it should fit within this square area. But you do it with what you can. And like I said, I really enjoyed that aspect, that it just kind of stands out. Probably my favorite that depicts the Wheel of Time. I probably said that before. Anyway, that is the Fires of Heaven. So the Lord of Chaos build is actually changed a little bit from my Instagram, as I said before. But also, it is probably the most plain of all of my builds. Like, honestly, like, as far as detail goes, it's just kind of a scattered build. You've got a lot of these wheels thrown around and inserted in places. For instance, this one is actually inserted with what I call the pin stud piece, so that it can stay in place, even though it looks like it's scattered. So you just place this there, and then you slide the wheel there. No, it's not the Wheel of Time, it's just a broken wheel. This one is not secured, but it stays well enough. You don't tip it too much. This little gizmo isn't supposed to be wood. Well, I mean, technically it is wood, but it's not supposed to represent a piece of a wagon. It actually represents the tree that is found more on the spine of the cover. Hopefully you can kind of see that shaping and get an idea of what I was going for. Like I said, not my best. And especially since, like, it leaves out, I just, like, thought of this. The biggest detail is, well, one of the biggest details is this big Drakkar. But, like I said, it's not that necessary. I suppose I could have done, like, more clouds or something, but I just kind of wanted it to be plain. I was experimenting, because not all of these are perfectly, like, set to standards. But, then we have the minifigures. So, judging by the symbol on the back, I would say that it was supposed to be an Aes Sedai, but it's kind of unclear exactly who it is. And to be fair, not all book illustrations are perfectly accurate. So I decided to stick with Min, another one of Rand's love interests. She has a purple cloak, even though this is more of a dark blue. I mostly chose this cloak because it has a bunch of symbols, you know, that represent magic, and that's kind of what this is supposed to be. But, you know, Lego with their own decals, they can have their own fun. Also, it matches with this little neckline of purple, so it's like a cloak in that sense. Yeah, and it doesn't really like focus too much on the front, so you just kind of angle them so then you can get that face but you'll see that as we continue. You will have to forgive me if this exits out of focus once in a while, but this is supposed to represent Rand on book 6. And, you know, I really fiddled around with hairpieces and heads. Like, I used a Doctor Who Matt Smith in my Instagram pictures, but I think this represents the ferocity of Rand. And I suppose he could have had more of like a Han Solo hairpiece, but the thing that really caught my attention on the book was his part and how it's kind of like divided. So I just kind of wanted to experiment and fiddle with it. So I chose the Ron Weasley hairpiece. And you know, it's just a bit of an opportunity to have creative liberties. But if you don't want Rand angry, you can also go to his happier side. And you know, considering how he feels with Min, it makes sense he could be this happy. But yeah, the head is Victor Crumb, and like I said, the hairpiece is Ron Weasley. And then the torso is Han Solo from Return of the Jedi. And I believe that is it for this figure. Sorry, Drycar. Maybe next time I'll get you a minifigure. And here's just a bit more of a look at the base and how it's built. Like I said, very scattered. It's like supposed to be a bunch of broken wagons and wood on a scattered kind of grassland plain. And then the back, just a simple number 6 on the back along with a trunk. And that has a key point to the story. There I go. But yeah, that's it. And like all the other bookends, each of them have these little pinholes so that you can attach more and create bookends together or apart. And with Rand, you just have to angle his head slightly to his right, put his fist down. Here's the book for a comparison again. And then it looks like his hand is kind of at a bend, but it's not like all the way down, it's kind of straight. So you stick him there on this piece where the tile is so that you can angle him just right. And then you have Min, or Nice to Die, your choice. So she kind of has an arm up a little. And she's close to this tree, so you can stick her there. Kind of raise her arm in fear. I have to admit this arm is kind of weak, so it's pretty sensitive to touch. But there you go. That is how you set up the Lord of Chaos. And here they are fulfilling their purpose as bookends. And I believe that is it. So, what do you guys think of this project? Would you like a project like this to be real? And if you guys are fans of the Wheel of Time, or if you're going to watch the show, or heck, even if you're just a fan of Lego, or none of the above, I really would appreciate it if you went and continued to support this project, or at least its predecessor on Lego Ideas. Tell your friends. Please let them know about it. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful year ahead of you, full of building, happiness, and, well, creativity and imagination. So, we got a lot to look forward to in the future. And so, with that, I bid you farewell, and may the light shine on you, and peace favor your sword. Farewell. Bye.